Adding users in GroupTalk is easy. But before we do that, let's talk about what a user is. At a minimum, a user needs to have three things: a name, some way to authenticate himself, and a user category. The name is typically first name last name, and is the entity that by default is spread and seen throughout GroupTalk. Users can authenticate in three different ways: by SMS, email, or password. For mobile users, the recommended way is to use SMS, since it is the most secure and fastest way to get up and running. For admin and dispatcher users, the recommended authentication method is password. The user category tells what this user can do. For example, access to roles, push-to-talk groups, private calls, emergency alarm, queues, and location, is based solely upon which user category this user has. Once user categories have been configured once and for all, it is very easy to add additional users without having to think about in detail what resources this particular user should have access to. You simply just have to put him in the right user category. In addition to a name, authentication info and user category, it is possible to add custom fields called user labels. Which user labels to use depend on which information you want to have available of your users. Some examples are work function, area and employee number. But it may be other fields that makes more sense for your organization. Lastly, it is possible to give roles to a user. While this is possible, it is not recommended. It is better to set roles in the user category instead. Now let's go back to our example of the pretty good security company. Our users have a name, phone number and a user category. In addition, we will add some custom user labels. Our users have a work function, an employee number, a district, as well as whether they work day or night. Let's set up our users in the GroupTalk admin. The first thing we should do is to set up our user labels. In the company profile page, look for user labels. Let's add work function, employee number, district, and shift. If we go to the user table, we see that Peter Smith is the only user so far. This user was added automatically when we signed up. We can see that we have some new columns for our user labels. Let's add our users. Enter a name. Enter phone number in international format. You can see that 4 fields for our user labels have been added. Select user category. We do not need to give any additional roles. Instead, we get them from our user category. We keep adding users this way. When all users have been added, there is one last thing we need to think about. In GroupTalk, as default, the first name last name is what is spread and seen throughout the GroupTalk system. If we take a look at how the user list looks like in the mobile app, we simply see a list of names. When we are trying to reach someone, that might be what we want, but more often than not, we really want to contact a function at a specific region. Something like this. To do this, go to the company profile and look for templates. Let's change our user pattern. The %F%L stands for first name and last name. Let's change this to be function and area instead. If we open the user labels, we can see that this is user label 1 and 3. So we write %1 %3. Next, we want to add the name as a user title field. %F for first name, %L for last name. Within parentheses, we add the shift, day or night. This is user label 4. With this little change, our users are now a lot more descriptive throughout the GroupTalk system. Now that we have our users neatly organized, in the next video we will set up the actual group communication by adding PTT groups.